People need an income that's guaranteed to them.
If you lose money to taxes, you're never getting that money back.
You need to get serious about adding some lower risk.
Greed. I don't like greed.
The thing to be afraid of, honestly, is the thing that we're not thinking of, the Black Swan event.
There's a tsunami coming. Bye.
Welcome to Retirement Coffee Talk with Charisse Rivers.
Just coffee talk.
There's a lot of noise, a lot of chatter. Who do you listen to? Who do you not listen to? You have to stay focused.
A fun and informative look at the issues of wealth, retirement, and protecting your life savings.
These advisors out there that were trained to sell, and have all these fees. They don't want to talk about this product so they make less money.
And now, Retirement Coffee Talk with Charisse Rivers.
Hello again, and welcome to Retirement Coffee Talk with Charisse Rivers at Zinnia Wealth. Online, as always, zinniawealth.com, Zinnia wealth.com. This is a show where we sit down and talk through some of the issues of retirement and a bunch of things that you might be worried about. Maybe it's keeping you up at night. Charisse always talks about wandering the halls at night, worrying about your money. We don't want you there. That's why we have this show. Charisse, how are you doing today?
I'm good. By the way, I was introduced to magnesium this week.
Magnesium. Okay.
Magnesium. I've never taken magnesium in my life.
Okay.
And I've done melatonin maybe twice in my life years ago. I took a melatonin at 7:00 p.m. I know we're talking about retirement, everybody, but I got to tell you about my magnesium because if you're getting ready for retirement, you need this.
Okay.
It was like 50 milligrams. I was in bed at 8:00. My kids are like, "Mom, are you okay?" I'm like, I was like a comatose zombie. So the next day, I slept all through the night. The next day, I didn't do it. I was like, maybe that's too much hard sleep. Like I was in sleep mode. And so the day after, I did it again, but I waited and took it at 8:30. I was in bed at 9. I hadn't put my kids to bed. I was just laying there reading, getting ready. And the next thing you know, I'm like waking up at 11 o'clock. I'm like, oh my gosh, are my kids asleep? Did they turn off the lights? And I woke up and they were awake. I'm like, how come you guys aren't asleep? Like, do I have to put you to bed every night? And they're like, you passed out, Mom. And I never do that because I lay my kids down. I read to my son. Mm-hmm. There's a whole process. So magnesium helps you sleep better at night in case your financial advisor
Okay. All right.
not doing that for you. Anyway, so long story short, I've been introduced to magnesium and I don't think I need it. It's messing me up with my kiddos.
Oh, if you sit down with people who are, 45 plus, 50 plus, 60 plus, they are going to give you all sorts of things that they have to do to try to get to sleep. Sleep is very important, and it's a commodity, I think.
Well, and I heard like at my age, you should be having magnesium to help you sleep.
Okay.
Well, that's next level.
I'm just into the gummies. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they have those gummies that keep you to sleep.
That seems to work for me. All right, moving on.
Many carbs in those. All right, can we move on?
I think we should.
Good.
All right.
Good.
All right, we're going to start today by my story from last week, and that is we missed a week because I went on a golf trip. I went with like 10 guys, and we went to Biloxi, and I drove from Atlanta to Biloxi, which is about a 7-hour drive. And, of course, you use your GPS, and it was mostly interstate. But, okay, so the GPS tells you, okay, go 69 miles and then turn left on this interstate and then go 140 miles and then change and so I like, cool. I sit down, I get my drink, I get my snack, I get my music, and down the road I go, and I'm relaxed, and I know that when my next turn is there, I will be told. So I thought about that a little bit, and I thought, you know what? I think that's what I want out of a retirement plan. I want to be kind of going along, and somebody tell me, okay, time to do this, and then I go along for a while longer, time to do this. So, Charisse, do you build plans like that, kind of a step-by-step, and say, okay, when you get to be 59 and a half, you do this. When you get to 62, you do this. When you get to 65, you do this. 67, you do this. And is it that simple that can you write a plan like that?
You can actually.
Okay.
I actually have a guide for people that gives you every step of the way.
Awesome.
Actually, you can find it on my website. But there's so many people out there that are listening right now that have not come in and seen us. And then we have our clients that are just avid listeners. They just continue to listen all the time. And the one thing I can say over the last 20 years in this business is that we're pretty flexible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Number one, people want a roadmap.
Mm-hmm.
They want to know, okay, we're doing a right turn. And they want to know ahead of time, right? And this is why we have a GPS. You can open it up and say, okay, I'm going to take a right up there and go so many miles. So that kind of planning, like when you're driving and traveling, is important to everyone. Doesn't matter what age you're at. But in retirement, you don't want to run into these roadblocks and hazards because it could take you a lot longer when it comes to getting there, right? And so they want a built out plan. They want to know either if you're flexible or you're not. And one thing in my business, there's two versions of flexibility. The first version is flexibility as you are a client. We're managing all your money, but every year when you're coming in for your reviews, we're having to transition maybe where our income checks come from, or, hey, I needed to pay off this, or I got to pay this house for my kid or college loan or whatnot. So we have to be flexible in the plan, especially if we know those things could be on the horizon. So the flexibility every year with our clients is important, but it's also flexibility when people come in and you're pretty good at managing your own money. And we get a couple of those people. Actually, we get more of those people than not. And they at first feel like, well, I'm nervous to give everything to Team Zinnia. And can I hold on to the reins of some money and still manage money? And I'm always like, of course you can. So as long as I have eyeballs, I can see it. I put it in our program. I want to make sure I'm not doing what you're doing, because a lot of people have this feel good, or you're just getting started for the first time because you're now retired. You're like, I have all the time in the world. I want to start following the stock market, which is insanity. Trust me. Give yourself 2 years and you'll be like, I'm over this, Shirley. Because you made some good calls. You made some bad calls. You're like, why am I washed out?
Yeah.
But we want to let you experience that, especially if that's something you want to do. But we just make sure that we have that conversation about how much. I had a gentleman come in and he says, hey, Sharice, I got $3 million. I would like to manage 1 million, but I want to talk to you about it every year and keep that on an outside account. And I want you to manage the other 2 million. And so we do that. And I've been doing that for years. And what I have learned over time is that you get tired of pushing the button and you just like, I don't want to think about it anymore. And you end up letting me manage it anyways. But being flexible up front, I think, is important because we don't want to take things away from you. We just want to create a roadmap and a plan, get you to your destination, make sure your income checks are coming, make sure your tax plan's buttoned up, make sure your health insurance, your estate planning, long-term care, all those things are going to be hazards in your life, that we have those all covered. And then your investment plan, right? We can do your investment plan together, and your income plan, that's all us. You know, we need to make sure we're managing and making sure that is always teed up.
Well, it comes down to trust. And, you know, you and I have talked about that a lot. Me doing the show with you for 13 years, 14 years, whatever it's been now.
Feels like 25.
Thanks a lot. But here's the thing is I've always been amazed. I try to put myself in the listener's position and say, okay, we are appealing to people to say, here's something that you probably need, or here's something that you're probably really uncomfortable with. We can help you with that. And there's a trust, the amount of trust that I think it takes for somebody to pick up the phone and call you or come into your office for the very first time. They're looking at you and going, I've been through 5 radio shows and 3 advisor interviews. Geez, Sharice, I hope you're the girl, because I am frustrated and I don't know who I can trust. And that trust has to be built not only, you know, over the years, but in the first meeting, over the first 6 months, over the first year. And then you say, by the time you get to a couple of years in, people are looking at what you do. You get a good feel, you got a chemistry, and then they kind of go, okay, let's move forward like that. It's a process, isn't it?
It is. And you know what? I hear all the time, Sharice, I have to chuckle. I'm just thinking, I'm seeing faces of people that I've had these conversations with.
Yeah.
You make sense. That's why I'm here seeing you. Mm-hmm. And then we create the plan. And then they say, it just makes sense. And I've never seen a plan like this. We're not sure you're right, but we trust you. So we build that trust before people become a client. Mm-hmm. Now, some people are like, oh, I don't know. I've been through so many advisors. What makes you different? I'm like, you're going to have to trust and slowly, you know, figure it out with us. Right. Mm-hmm. And over time, I will say it usually takes about 12 months. Somebody who's skeptical, they know they need help, but they don't want to go to a big bank or brokerage firm. They like our boutique feel. They like our plan because nobody else does it the way we do it. And then a year passes by and they're like, wow, we did that return. I wasn't expecting from that investment to make that kind of money, you know, because we do different types of investments. And so I tell people, you just have to trust me on the plan. I'm going to build it Our advisors are going to build it. Our back office, our teams are going to build it out for you. And just know there's a reason why our madness is the way our madness is. There's a reason why we are very diversified. And over time, I just saw a client recently and I was like, I haven't seen you in a couple of years. And I know we've been calling you every year. She's like, you good. I got my checks. I watch my investments. I'm like, I, by law, kind of have to talk to you. People just get uber confident with us over time, which is great. That means we're on track. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing. And so it's a trust.
Well, one of the things that we talk about regularly, Charisse, is that people are afraid sometimes to spend their money in retirement, right? We see, there's that big fear of running out of money. So people go into this kind of cocooning and say, oh, I can't spend. And then if they have a financial advisor, many times they'll look at their accounts and they go, my account's going up. I thought it was going to go down. And then I better go out and spend some money. And that is, I think, the situation. I hope that you come to that realization quicker than 2 years. But I think it's important to have the confidence in your advisor and the confidence in your plan that you won't run out of money. And that needs to be sitting right in front of you in black and white, whether you believe it or not. You got to live it for a while. Okay. But that really has to be there, doesn't it? I mean, trust and confidence is huge.
Yes. You need transparency. Like what I've learned in 20 years is transparency. How can you really check the returns your advisor is producing for you? So years ago, I learned I can't really figure out, if I'm paying 1.5 to 2% with this advisor, Charisse, how do I know what I'm really making every year? And you can't really figure it out. So we started buying software years ago that says, hey, listen, let's make sure I'm valuable and I'm worth it. And our team, we're doing our job. And every year we want to look at the last 12 months and then look at the 12 months before that and the 12 months before that. Let's look at the rate of return and see if I'm worth it, right? And I've used that tool so many times and they use it on their own. And we teach people how to use it so you can do it on your own. And that's transparent. We have nothing to hide. And I think that's a big part. And when there's transparency, there's trust. And when there's trust, there's confidence.
Well, I think that this is a great conversation because as somebody's listening to us, maybe for the very first time, they know they're coming up on retirement. They know they probably need somebody to help them with this retirement planning process. And they're trying to figure out how to go about it and who to choose. Well, what we say here is we do a no cost, no obligation meeting. Come on in, kick the tires on Zinnia Wealth. Let's see if we are a good fit together. Listen to what Charisse has to say and then go from there. 833-368-3680. 833-368-3680. Or online is zinniawealth.com, ZINNIA wealth.com. And there's a gold box there. It says complimentary retirement consultation. Click on that. We'll ask you a little information. We'll get a date on a calendar and go from there. So one of the big fears that people have, of course, is hiring a financial advisor and then losing a whole bunch of money. Well, apparently, this person decided they were going to try this on their own, and it didn't turn out too well. I don't know how this possibly could happen. Woman writes into Yahoo Finance in the advisor column, and she said, our investments were $450,000. They are now $250,000. How do you lose 50% of your money in this market? I don't get it. But she then says,
"Oh, Bitcoin."
Yeah, maybe she was real risky like that. But when it comes to losses, when is enough enough? When should I go to cash? Interesting. Do you see that? I mean, I imagine you've had people who come to you and they've tried it on their own. They've failed. And then they go, Charisse, this is a mess. I've got to do something. Can you fix this? At what point is it when they come to you like that?
Let me paint the picture.
Okay.
Because we always talk about the roller coaster ride. So I know you baby boomers, you're probably not on roller coasters, but just go back to the days where you can remember being on a roller coaster.
All right.
And boy, do we love roller coasters because we get butterflies, right? And so you're going up and you're in tick, 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 tick. You know something's coming around. We know. And then you get to the top and it comes down and you're like, woo, right?
Yep.
And then you do it over again and you go really fast and sideways. And it's going to happen a couple of times. And then you're going to get to this grand age or grand time. And I would call it, once you've been on that roller coaster 3 times, right? You're going to get sick because eventually that tick, 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 tick.
Don't want
You're
that.
going to be at a phase where you're living on your income and that joyful feel coming down the roller coaster.
Not so joyful.
It's not so joyful because your 401k just turned to a 201k. So where do people typically reach out to us? Randy, is your question.
Yeah.
So you get the tick, tick. It's when they've already gone over.
Okay.
And they're halfway down.
They're screaming.
They're screaming. Right. And so we see that a lot. And depending if they have bonds, some people they come to us, they have tons of bonds. Depending if they have the older bonds, the short-term bonds, or long-term bonds, they're like, why am I not making any money? Right. Mm-hmm. They sometimes come to us too late. So kind of pot committed on some of the stuff they're doing. So my recommendation is that you should not, I'm telling you, you should not be paying attention to the stock market in retirement. I know that's easier said than done because we're just so used to it. But if you have a well-built plan, right? A well-built plan, meaning number one, your investment plan is covered, meaning that investment plan isn't just a 60-40 portfolio, because you'll be calling me when you come through this roller coaster ride because you're not going to like what you see. That's a 60-40 portfolio. You can go to any bank and brokerage firm on every stoplight you stop at and get that deal for about 1.25% to 2% a year. And that's your investment plan. If that investment plan is diversified, right, and you are putting a bunch of different alternatives in there, not just a 60-40 portfolio, let's say you have 5 different investment strategies in there, you're probably not going to have as much worry because some stuff is going to grow slower. Some stuff is going to grow medium. Some stuff is going to go really fast. And you're going to watch that balance take place and you're going to be okay with it because you can see not all things go up at one time, not all things go down at one time. And the goal is, number 2, is that income plan, like the withdrawal strategy. Randy, everybody says, I don't understand this income strategy, this withdrawal strategy. Where do I pull my money from first? If I've got one bucket, especially the 60-40 portfolio, right? And if it's all IRA, we do not want to be pulling all of our money from one bucket. That is a no-no in retirement. That is not a plan. That is just an investment. So we want to create an income strategy so that when markets do this tipsy-turvy thing, your checks are still coming to you, right? And if you don't know if you have that, then you don't have that.
Yeah.
You're working with the stock jock, right?
Yep.
And that's okay. But now you know, because we want to help you build that plan. It's uber important more now than ever because markets are taking off. Hey, there's a lot of noise out there today. And, if you're having some worry, hey, we're building more missiles at Lockheed. Hey, what does that mean, right? Or, potential war, tariffs changing. If those things are worrying you, which means now you're worried about your investments, then you have to come in and get a plan. It's really that simple. 1 out of 5 people have a plan, Randy. And this is why they spend less. We're seeing people spend a little bit less right now in our world when you look at the data and because of all the noise out there. And if there's a lot of noise, you're not spending money, what kind of retirement is that? You should be sailing into the wind in retirement and knowing some of that stuff's going to be tipsy-turvy, but you don't care because you don't need that money for 10 years. You've got an early 10-year time horizon, your go-go year plan. And if you don't have that, then I can see why you're worried and why you're not spending more money. So we want to create that investment plan that's strategic and the income plan that helps cover inflation, that builds in your Social Security, that is your withdrawal strategy, because do we pull it out of the brokerage account, the Roth IRA, or the IRA? So which buckets do we pull it out? I get why it's important to understand that, because you also want to save on taxes. Because if you pull out the wrong bucket too soon or too late, you paid more to Uncle Sam than you really need to. So that leads to my third strategy, the tax plan. But we won't go into all that today. But these things matter in retirement. And most people are just specializing in one thing, the investment plan. That's not good enough. Sorry.
Yeah. This woman here reminds me of the time when I tried to fix my own lawnmower. If something broke, so I said, well, I can get in there and I'll do that. And pretty soon I had a bunch of oily parts all over the floor and a lot of smoke. And I bring it back to the repair shop and I look at the guy with a basket full of parts and I go, I tried. Well, you don't want to go to Charisse with your retirement, say, I tried, and I lost $200,000 doing it. Let's not let that happen. Let's come on in. Let's have a plan for your money, your plan for your income, plan for your investments, plan for protection, as Charisse talks through. Give her a call. We'll do a no-cost, no-obligation meeting with you to talk through all of your questions. 833-368-3680. 833-368-3680 or online at zinniawealth.com, ZINNIA wealth.com. Hit that gold box. It says complimentary retirement consultation. All right, so getting rid of debt before you go into retirement is probably a pretty good idea. Less debt, more money for you. The question is, what about the big one? What about your mortgage? Should you pay off your mortgage before you go into retirement? And where does the money come from if you'd like to do that? I think about this, Sharice, in the last couple of years, they do the standard deduction now. I don't itemize anymore. So having a house now is not as advantageous tax-wise as what it used to be. So should we be carrying our mortgage into retirement, or tell me about paying off debt?
Do you want the feel-good answer, and you want that answer that you want to hear, or do you want the truth?
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Sometimes it makes you feel good inside, but sometimes it not make you feel good inside with your bank account, right? Yeah.
There's two versions here.
Yeah.
There's that person who comes into my office that says, Sharice, I want to keep the mortgage because I can write it off. Yeah, they're taking the standard deduction.
Oops.
And I'm like, no, sir, you cannot.
That's
You're
not
taking
helping.
the standard deduction.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
I also look at interest rate. Is your interest rate at 2, 3, 4, 5, or is it 7, 8, 9? So so this is not a cookie cutter answer. And I believe, because I know my people so well, AKA my baby boomers and my clients, I believe because it's a Mr. Pillow feeling that you should pay off your darn mortgage.
Makes
It's
you
going
feel
to
good.
drive you crazy until you do. So I'm giving you the answer you want me to tell you. That is the feel good answer, because no matter what I tell you, you're going to go pay it off behind my back anyways. I've been doing this so long, I'm over it. Because if you listen to other radio shows, they're like, don't pay it off. You can take that money, you can invest it. I don't know why they even tell you that. You don't care anyways. You're going to go and you're going to go cash something out behind my back and go do it anyways. Like, oh, Sharice, by the way, we just went ahead and did that. And I just pray to God it's never with the IRA. So I am being for real here because it happens all the time. And my clients know, they know that they have to communicate with me before they do any big purchases or something like that. So they still sneak that one behind me.
Okay.
Because you know what I've learned? They just do what they know what to do because it feels good. And one spouse says, let's keep the mortgage. And the other spouse says, no, let's pay it off. Right. And so typically the spouse that will live longer says, pay it off. And it's typically the women, right? Because they want to feel safe and solid that if you pass away earlier than ever planned, because women do live an average of 7, 8 years longer, they don't have this debt over their head. So it gets pushed. It's a pushful conversation. And I get it. And so there is some math that we have to do. So I say, yes, pay it off, but how do we pay it off if you're retired and you have all this IRA money? If you have all of this IRA money, then I'm going to say,
no,
Houston, we have a problem because you're going to give 40% back in taxes, depending how big this mortgage is. So it is a truthful conversation that we have to have. I just want you all to know I'm on your side. I'm on your side. I want my mortgages paid off. I don't care if I save a couple bucks here or there. And we've been trained for all these years, have all your debt paid off, save all your money, and then go sail into the winds in retirement. And then don't spend your money, which is crazy because that's a lot of advisors don't want you to spend your money. But this is the one thing that I think is an important, critical conversation, especially if you're thinking about it.
Yeah. Sometimes it makes more psychological sense than financial sense, but sometimes the heart overrules. Sometimes.
Yes.
All right. Certainly something to talk through, and that can be happening at Zinnia Wealth. Give Sharice a call. Let's talk through your questions about retirement. Maybe that's one of them. 833-368-3680. Again, 833-368-3680 or online, zinniawealth.com, ZINNIA wealth.com. Hit the gold box there, and you'll be on your way. Sharice, that is all the time we have on this one. I'll give you the last word.
Well, thank you all for tuning in. Remember, tune into our podcasts on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. We're going live now. Get to know us. And as usual, live by design and not by default. And we'll see you here next week.
This has been Retirement Coffee Talk. To find out more about how the strategies we've discussed on this program can build the retirement you've been wanting, call Zinnia Wealth at 352-368-3680 or visit us online at zinniawealth.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Zinnia Wealth Advisory, LLC, a registered investment advisor. The firm only conducts business in states where it is properly registered or is excluded from registration requirements. Registration is not an endorsement of the firm by securities regulators and does not mean the advisor has achieved a specific level of skill or ability. Insurance products are offered through Zinnia Wealth Management, LLC, Florida license L078655, and Sharice Rivers, Florida license P037744. Zinnia Wealth Advisory, LLC, and Zinnia Wealth Management, LLC are affiliated entities. The information presented is believed to be current. It should not be viewed as personalized investment advice. All expressions of opinion reflect the judgment of the presenter on the date of the podcast and are subject to change. The information presented is not an offer to buy or sell or a solicitation of any offer to buy or sell any of the securities discussed. You should consult with a professional advisor before implementing any of the strategies discussed. Any legal or tax information provided in this podcast is general in nature. Always consult an attorney or tax professional regarding your specific legal or tax situation. Any client experience discussed on this show are unique to that client. Annuity and life insurance guarantees are subject to the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. If you withdraw money from or surrender your contract within a certain time after investing, the insurance company may assess a surrender charge. Withdrawals may be subject to tax penalties and income taxes. Persons selling annuities or other insurance products receive compensation for these transactions. These commissions are separate and distinct from fees charged for advisory services. Insurance products also contain additional fees and expenses. Social Security rules and regulations are subject to change at any time. Always consult with your local Social Security office before acting upon any information provided herein. References to specific investments should not be construed as being past specific recommendations. The returns for various indices discussed in this podcast do not represent the performance of the firm or any of its advisory clients. Returns do not reflect the impact that advisory fees will have on an investment. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. All investment strategies have potential for profit or loss. Different types of investments involve higher and lower levels of risk. There is no guarantee that a specific investment strategy will be suitable or profitable for an investor's portfolio. Historical performance returns for investment indexes and or categories usually do not deduct transaction and or custodial charges or advisory fees, which would decrease historical performance results. There are no guarantees that a portfolio will match or outperform a specific benchmark. Investments in fixed income products are subject to liquidity risk, market risk, index rate risk, credit risk, inflation risk, purchasing power risk, and taxation risk. Because bond prices fluctuate continually, their yields change constantly.